So I took a look at the Pew Social Media and Political Engagement Report, which incidentally is one of my favorite reports ever. I actually read it last October when it came out and was thrilled about it. Um, so basically, as it starts out, it really says 66% of social media users, or 39% of all American adults, have done at least one of 8 civic or political activities uh, while using social media. That's a huge, huge number of people who are politically engaged by their own definition, and I think that that's a fabulous um, data point that doesn't get kicked around enough. I think, and we're going back to kind of the beginning of the class where I really hate Robert Putnam, and I think that this is kind of taking a lot of Putnam's theories and saying, look, you're very, very wrong, and just because things aren't the way they used to be doesn't mean that we are no longer civically engaged today. Um, so there are a couple things that jumped out at me in this report. The first being that typically liberals are more likely than conservatives to use social media overall, not just post for political purposes, which I find very interesting because given a few years back, um, like conservative pundits and talking heads and the people who show up on the radio and the TV were routinely praised for and applauded for really harnessing the power of social media. So I think that's kind of an interesting flip, and I would love to see this sort of data from like 2006 or 2007. And please excuse my cat there. So I think that's interesting how that's changing and evolving. And then with other trends, young people are more likely to use these tools to interact with politicians than their older counterparts, with the exception of encouraging people to vote. The 30 to 49 age bracket edges out the 18 to 29 age bracket by 2%. That's about that's a 34 to 36%. But actually, within that question, most people are fairly even. They're all about encouraging people to vote online. Other kind of interesting data points: 31% of people have urged others to take action online, which I find encouraging given that I used to write strategies and whatnot to have people kind of use social media to push out advocacy strategies. Oh, and there's my dog. 20% of social media users also follow their elected officials, which is fascinating and interesting. And all of this is a lot more troubling when you put it into the context that people are communicating with their elected officials and following what they're doing via social media, and their elected officials don't care. But that's another rant for another day. And that is kind of what jumps out at me in the Pew Social Media and Political Engagement Report.